It's time for the Alien Conspiracy Podcast. We are your hosts, Agent ETA,
Agent Ether,
and Agent Anderson. Come along as we examine UFO sightings, conspiracies, and all things strange. You can follow the show on Twitter at AlienConPod. Probably not for long, though, the way things are going. We also have an email address, alienconpod@protonmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And don't forget to check out all of our other wonderful links in the description on the Linktree. This week's episode, the Chiles-Whitted UFO Encounter. How would you pronounce these names, Agent Ether?
just how you did.
Chiles-Whitted?
Yeah.
I've heard Chiles. It's spelled Chiles, but I don't think anybody says it that way.
Well.
But, you know, what if your pilot was named Chiles? That would be kind of strange. What do you think, ETA? How would you pronounce these names?
I think I agree with the way you pronounced it. I mean, I've seen a couple of videos and like that's the way it was pronounced and by other people that I heard, you know. When you're reading like an article about this, like you really have no, you know, you don't know how it's supposed to be pronounced unless like it's specifically laid out there for you, you know, but I think that's the right way to pronounce it.
Yeah. Well, we'll go with it then. All right. This one goes all the way back to July 24th, 1948.
Classic.
This is one of the classic cases.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's from, so what we're talking about here is an Eastern Airlines Douglas DC-3, which I won't go on my, you know, aviation nerd rant that I normally do. I'll just leave that for the fishes, I guess.
I'll just say I've always loved the way that airplane looks. It's just a classic looking airplane. It's not a huge, it's a decent sized airplane, but excuse me, it's a good looking one.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah, for sure. The pilots in charge of the plane were Clarence Chiles and John Whitted. Chiles was the pilot and Whitted was the co-pilot. Most of the passengers were asleep at the time of the sighting, but there was one passenger that was awake that did see the UFO.
It's a small plane, right? They said there were, 24 passengers?
Yeah, it's nothing like the passenger planes we have these days that we fly on. But,
oh, yeah, nowhere near.
But it was a decent size. There were passengers. There's people on there going from point A to point B.
Well, it's not like a two-seater plane. I wouldn't necessarily call it a small plane, but I wouldn't call it a large one either. You know,
And before I forget, this topic was voted upon by our Patreon subscribers. We've got 3 tiers. The first gets you early access and we don't really have ads anymore, but when we do have ads, it'll be ad-free. I stopped doing the ads momentarily for reasons. So it'll get you early access and after hours. The middle tier gets you bonus episodes, and the top tier allows you to vote on upcoming topics. This week's bonus episode, we did a review of Magic Mountain because, Agent Redacted and I did a review because the other agents were unavailable. But we went there last week, sort of on vacation. So that's why we didn't have an episode ready last week, or we didn't record one last week, because we were at Magic Mountain going on some coasters. So we did a lengthy review of that place. Believe it or not, I think it ended up being like an hour and 40 minutes or something
Good
crazy
Lordy.
like that.
Really?
Yeah, we went on some tangents.
Enthusiasts there.
I know. Oh yeah, we love us some roller coasters. So
It was a damn good time.
Yeah, this week there was a tie between the Chiles-Whitted UFO encounter and what was it? Cursed lottery winners. So next week's topic, bonus episode, will be cursed lottery winners. That's what we're gonna do is the bonus, and then the regular episode they are voting on right now. They had their choices. I gave them were, I think it was the Bermuda Triangle and false flags are the ones.
So I can already tell you which one's going to win.
You think it's going to be Bermuda Triangle?
I do. Everybody loves. When I was a kid, I was that must have been the first phenomena I'd ever heard of, even before UFOs.
Yeah.
And you always are like, whoa, what's going on in the Bermuda Triangle? I want to get lost in the Bermuda Triangle, right? As a kid, didn't you think that?
Yeah, or do you?
I don't, but as a kid, I did.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's one of the early ones that I heard of myself. So it'd be a fun one if that's what they choose. But all right, enough with that. Let's get to it. Or get back to it anyways. This happened. I'm doing like a case summary, and then I'll talk about like the specific witness statements and some stuff that I found in the Blue Book files. And we have lots of stuff to go over. We'll see how much we get through. We'll probably get through most or all of it. All right. So this one happened near Montgomery, Alabama, and the plane was flying at about 5,000 feet altitude. And that's quite a lot lower than passenger planes these days fly, like 30,000 feet plus, because the technology is just different. We're flying in these big jet airplanes with pressurized cabins and all that stuff. Although this one definitely had a pressurized cabin, I'm sure. Well, I don't know about definitely, but probably. You'd imagine it would, because it'd be pretty damn cold at 5,000 feet if it wasn't, somehow sealed up. The conditions were clear with scattered clouds, and the moon was apparently 4 days past full. So really good visibility. There was no haze or anything like that, just really good visibility. This happened at 2:45 a.m. That's when the pilots saw the object.
People flying a red eye.
Yeah. And this is one of three classic cases that convinced Project Saucer or Project Sign, whichever, that the Air Force, or from the Air Force, that UFOs were real. And this case, among others, led to the infamous Estimate of the Situation, which was published in 1948, where the project concluded that some UFOs were interplanetary. So this is sometimes debated by the skeptics whether or not this document exists, but it has been confirmed by not just Ruppelt, who saw the document, but also by some other people involved with the project, such as J. Allen Hynek. It's pretty, I think it's pretty slam dunk that this document actually existed. We've talked about it before on the show. Now, if you read the Wikipedia about this, Wikipedia says that, there's nobody else. It says on there, the article, it says nobody else corroborated the existence of this document. Not true. Other people did corroborate its existence. And it says that, it probably is more of a UFO myth than being real. And it uses like a lot of hand waving and stuff like that. And it quotes like a Popular Mechanic article. Like, what's Popular Mechanics have to do with any of this? Like, who are they, like UFO experts now? Popular Mechanics? Like, why are you even quoting them? Like, they had some quote saying that it wasn't real, basically. But, Wikipedia, it's not the best source. It might be a good place to start. But for this particular topic, I was reading it earlier and I was pretty shocked at just how inaccurate their page was it's part of another page, but how inaccurate they were on the estimate of the situation. But it just completely blows me away that in 1948, an Air Force project tasked with investigating UFO sightings concluded that they were interplanetary in 1948. So I think I said last time, all right, we're done here. Time to shut down the show. Nothing more to see here. But we don't have any existing copies of this, although rumor is that a few copies were kept as souvenirs. So I'm hoping that one turns up eventually in somebody's attic. Who knows? It's possible, although very unlikely.
That'd be worth a lot of money.
That would be worth quite a lot of money, yes. Probably somebody would buy it and wouldn't release it to the public. That would be unfortunate. But I can tell you what's probably in there is probably similar to Special Report 14 in some ways, where it presents certain cases that they think are good evidence. It analyzes the cases to an extent, and then it has a conclusion of what they think and why they think that. Some people say that, this is going a little far afield maybe, but there is speculation that Vandenberg, the guy in charge, the head honcho of the Air Force, had them take out references to Roswell, and then he said there's no physical evidence, so that's why he kicked the report back down, declassified it, and put them all to the incinerator. But that's what he said, was that there's no physical evidence supporting this conclusion, and that's why the head honcho said, "No, I'm not buying this bull mahaki." But the people actually investigating it, they thought that these things were interplanetary. So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So this is one of the cases that led to that conclusion. All right. So the pilots themselves reported their sighting right after landing in Atlanta, Georgia, and they were interviewed by Project Sign. Originally, they thought that the UFO was some sort of secret USAF aircraft, which then begs the question, why report it to the Air Force? But maybe it was for reasons of safety, because this thing came fairly close to their plane. Maybe they were reporting it to be basically to say, hey, please don't buzz our airplane. It's not safe. But who knows? Maybe that's in their descriptions later on. It was also seen by an Air Force crew on the ground at Robbins Air Force Base. And there was actually some other sightings that were pretty similar that I'm sure we'll get to. But all right, so before I get into the actual witness statements, does anybody have anything they want to sort of pipe in, mention, talk about, discuss?
Well, I did want to mention the background of these gentlemen. They were former military.
Right.
So they weren't just airline pilots, commercial. They had military experience. They were in the Army and flew planes during the war.
Yeah, so they were pretty familiar with stuff.
Not just familiar, because they said they hadn't seen anything like this before. And they did say, we're sure it's not a meteor, that they'd actually seen meteors while flying in the sky. So they said, whatever it is, this is man-made. And I think when you have somebody with that level of expertise, you certainly can't dismiss what they're saying. And so to conclude anything else than what they're saying, I think is unreasonable.
Yeah, and the idea that a pilot would not be able to correctly identify a meteor, come on. We're getting a little ahead of we're getting to the punchline here, which is that, after the fact, they reevaluated the case and said that it was just a meteor. But initially, that was not the case. In fact, the report says explicitly that it was not a meteor, and I'll read that quote later on when we get to it. But all right, let's talk about it here. First, we'll go through the statement from the captain, Captain Chiles. And here we go. This is directly from the Blue Book files, which is the file for this one is quite extensive. It's about 160 pages. Lots of great stuff in there. We definitely don't have time to talk about all of it. We'll just do some highlights. But then again, a lot of it is documenting things like requests for, flight paths and things like that. And then the flight paths themselves that were sent out, stuff like that. That's probably not really all that great for a podcast episode. You can't really, it would be a very boring episode if we ran down all the flight paths. But anyways, here is the witness statement. The following is a report of an unidentified aircraft, which was sighted by Redacted and me as we were 20 miles southwest of Montgomery, Alabama, July 24th, 1948, as we were on Eastern's Trip 576. At 2:45 a.m., we were cruising at 5,000 feet when there came what looked like a jet type of aircraft to our right and slightly above, meeting us. It was a clear moonlight night with the visibility excellent. Therefore, we were able to view the ship as it passed for a period of around 10 seconds. It was clear there were no wings present, that it was powered by some jet or other type of power shooting flame from the rear some 50 feet. There were 2 rows of windows, which indicated an upper and lower deck. From inside these windows, a very bright light was glowing. Underneath the ship, there was a blue glow of light. After it passed, it pulled up into some light broken clouds and was lost from view. There was no prop wash or rough air felt as it passed. After talking to the only passenger awake at the time, he saw only the trail of fire as it passed and pulled into the clouds. I called the company at Columbus and asked if there was any reported jet Army craft and requested if the ATC had any aircraft under control. I was told that no such craft was reported by either source. And I know it might be a little dry, but I think it's very, very important to see what did the witness actually say. It's not always easy to get your hands on the exact witness statement that they put out right after the sighting, rather than what they told the news a couple years later or whatever. But if you can get your hands on these reports, these are very, very interesting reports. I think these are the best sources possible.
Yeah, I totally agree. Although I do have some quotes from news articles specifically, but they basically follow along with the statement that you just read.
Yeah, and some people will say there's discrepancies between certain reports, and that means that they're lying, like skeptics. But just imagine yourself in a situation where you see something highly unusual like this. You might describe it differently depending on who you're talking to. You might remember details that you forgot to put in the first time. So I don't think it's necessarily a red flag to see slight variations. Of course, when you have huge variations, like, from the Rendlesham witnesses or some of the Rendlesham witnesses, that's definitely a red flag. But but this is not a Rendlesham type case. So, all right, now here we have a statement from the co-pilot, and this was Whitted, but it's, the names are redacted in here, mostly redacted. It's funny because, as usual, you'll be reading through the reports and they'll redact the name in every case except for like one, and you're like, ha, gotcha, forgot to redact that one. It's pretty funny, actually. But all right, here's the statement of redacted. I was flying co-pilot for Captain Redacted on trip 576, which left Houston, Texas at 8:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday night, July 22nd, 1948. I wonder if that's a typo. Anyways, at 2:45 EST, we sighted a strange object coming towards us at a high rate of speed. We were at 5,000 feet and our position was 25 miles southwest of Montgomery, Alabama. The strange object had a stream of red fire coming from its tail. I assumed that it was a jet.
That reminds me of this one time.
I assumed it was a jet-type airplane of the Army or Navy, but as it came nearer, I could see that it was much larger than any Army or Navy jet that I have ever seen. Buddy, right into the microphone too. That's very rude. These dang what are they barking at even?
Probably a poltergeist or something.
Yeah, our house is haunted.
Oh yeah?
I don't know, probably not. But there was that one time, remember, I think I talked about it on the show, where our dog Toby, when he was a puppy, when we first got him, there happened, I think, 2 or 3 times where I was doing something. Like one time I was folding laundry in the bedroom and I was all by myself. There's nobody else in the house. And he acted like somebody had walked into the room. Like he went down on his haunches, like on all fours or whatever. And he was acting aggressive and he was sort of like acting weird. And then he sort of looked as if whatever it was exited the room and went out of the hall into the hallway. And he sort of went out there and kind of peeked around the corner like he was looking at it. I was like, Toby, what are you doing, dude? You're creeping me out, dude. It's pretty creepy behavior. But it only happened a couple times. Yeah, stop it. All right, back to the witness statement. I assumed that it was a jet-type airplane of the Army or Navy, but as it came nearer, I could see that it was much larger than any Army or Navy jet that I have ever seen or read about. It passed us on the right side of our DC-3. I estimate its speed in the neighborhood of 700 miles per hour, but this is purely a rough estimate. We were holding a compass heading of 50 degrees, and the object passed us going in the opposite direction. To me, the object seemed about half a mile from us, flying straight and level. And as far as aviation terms go, half a mile is still fairly close. I mean, you got to think about how fast they're traveling up there. I could see no wings supporting the object. The object was cigar-shaped and seemed to be about 100 feet in length. Dang, that's a pretty big one there. The fuselage appeared to be about 3 times the circumference of a B-29 fuselage. It had 2 rows of windows, an upper and a lower. The windows were very large and seemed square. They were white with light, which seemed to be caused by some type of combustion. I estimate that we watched the object at least 5 seconds and not more than 10 seconds. We heard no noise, nor did we feel any turbulence from the object. It seemed to be at about 5,500 feet. I asked Captain Redacted what we had just seen, and he said that he didn't know. Captain Redacted then contacted the company radio operator at Columbus, Georgia, and asked him to contact Lawson Field at Fort Benning, Georgia, and find out if the Army had any jet or experimental planes in the vicinity. The company operator called us a few minutes later and stated that Lawson, that Lawson Field reported that they had no planes flying in our area. Captain Redacted then reported back to the company radio operator saying that a strange aircraft just passed us and it looked like some type of rocket ship. We passed up Columbus because of ground fog and continued on to Atlanta. And those are the two main witness statements, and that's basically the main sighting.
That's amazing.
It's a pretty interesting sighting. The UFO itself, the description is similar to a lot of other sightings I've seen, but the flames coming out the end of it are somewhat unusual. I have seen reports like that, but there's not that many of them.
I've seen, I've experienced something like that myself.
Oh, yeah?
Actually.
Tell us about it.
You ever lit your own fart on fire before?
No, I'm always too afraid that I'm going to burn my butt.
Bull hockey. I think it's fine. As long as you have a good asshole threshold, you'll be good to go, you know? But yeah, I have many videos of my flaming farts. I just never posted them online, really.
You should post them on the Discord.
Well, it was funny. Well, maybe I should, you know?
Yeah. By the way, anybody who's unfamiliar, we have a Discord. There's no paywall. You can sign up if you like. You can find it under our link tree. Just come on over and say hello. You know, we're there. I don't think ETA is on there as much, but I'm on there and Ether's on there sometimes. And then Redacted is on there once in a great while. But yeah, if you want to come and chat about weird stuff or whatever, just come on and sign up.
Yeah, I'm not on there too often. I'm too busy lighting my farts on fire.
Yeah, it's a busy hobby, I guess.
It is. It's amazing. It's just amazing that I can actually produce flame out of my bunghole, you know?
Ether's giving me the scissors, you know?
hey, this is stuff people like to hear, okay? I think. Yeah, no, I remember rediscovering it, you know, in my later years. And I was just like, God damn, I forgot about this. This is amazing.
All right. Well, I guess that does bear some similarity to the Chiles-Whitted case.
So moving on in the file, Agent Anderson kind of looked at the front of the file and I kind of looked towards the back.
Mm-hmm.
And we did this comic book sort of bonus episode for our Patreon subscribers, which is why I was so amused to find a comic book on this case.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what it's doing in the file. Like, why would they include it in the file? It's a comic book. So and it doesn't say where it's from, like what comic it's from. It just says the Eastern Airlines case, Project Saucer, case number 144. And it's obviously from the drawing itself and from the language, you can tell that it's older.
I wonder if somebody inside the project made that, because as far as I'm aware, the number of the report isn't necessarily made public knowledge. I don't ever recall seeing a case referred to as, you know, report number 144 or report number this or that.
I don't know, because at the very end, it says, why did Project Saucer change its mind? And initially, because it says initially the object is classified as unidentified. And then in caps at the very bottom, why did they change their mind? So that doesn't sound like something internal. That sounds like something that was written later on, but not recently.
Yeah.
You know, so I was like, well, that's pretty funny.
I'd have to review the history of it, because Ruppelt does talk about this case in his book, which, by the way, I have read his book for this podcast. If you want to go back in the podcast feed, it's there, all 20 chapters. But I think he was tasked with reevaluating a few of the older cases, or many of the older cases. So that might be part of the reason why they changed their evaluation.
Maybe, yeah. In the first strip in the first, what would you call it, cell of the comic,
Yeah, I think so.
the pilot's like, "Good Lord, look!" And his co-pilot says, "What in the world is that?" And then when the flying craft misses them, and it's drawn large and like a UFO, like their description.
Yeah.
And when it passes them by, one of the pilots goes, "Woo, WHEW, woo, glad it missed." It's just so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But yeah, they take it from the witness statements because there's quotes from the pilots. And then they make this, and it's only 2 pages. I should just post it online so people can see it because it's pretty funny.
Yeah, post it on the Discord,
social media,
or Facebook. Yeah, we have a Facebook as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to go over that real quick. That was pretty funny. And then I have a couple. Do you want me to go over the newspaper clippings?
Yeah, whichever.
Okay.
Yeah.
So some of these don't state which newspaper they're pulled from. Like here, it's handwritten very faintly. I think it says Connecticut. Atlantan pilots report wingless sky monster. And I saw a lot of news articles refer to it as a sky monster.
Weird.
Or a flame-shooting wingless craft. The wingless aircraft.
Okay.
That seems a little ridiculous to me. I mean, the way that those pilots describe what they saw, I couldn't have got that out of their description. You know, I don't know what are you talking about?
So in the first newspaper clipping I have, oh my God, I need reading glasses. Whitted is reported as saying, if you look at one of those fantastic Flash Gordon rocket ships in the funny papers, you've got a picture of what we saw. Do you remember that funny papers instead of calling them comics? Like way back when? That's how you can date this case. The funny papers.
Oh yeah, this is an old case.
An old case, definitely. So he had kind of a mental image, and some of the skeptics argue that because of the heightened awareness of UFOs, that it was very easy for him to make that connection that it was a UFO when in fact it was a meteor. So that is one thing. And Whitted says as a B-29 bomber pilot during the war, he saw a lot of strange things over Japan. So I guess he was stationed over there, but never anything like that.
I wonder if he's talking about the Foo Fighters.
Oh, maybe.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yep. They were apparently very commonly seen, like really common. But I don't know. We did an episode on that.
And then he says, as if the pilot had seen us and wanted to avoid us, it pulled up with a tremendous burst of flame out of its rear and zoomed up into the clouds. Its prop wash or jet wash rocked our plane.
That's actually contrary to what their witness statement said.
Yeah.
And that's why you go to the original witness statements, because the newspapers tend to sensationalize things.
But it does say that it was so bright, they felt like they had lightning blindness, which I guess happens when there's lightning and the pilots have to turn on their internal like cockpit lights and sensors and stuff. And that's what they did. They had to turn on their lights inside the cockpit because of how bright the flames were.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that is accurate and how much of it is embellishment.
I don't know. I'm just reading.
Yeah.
I'm just taking it from the news articles. And one of them is quoted as saying they had goosebumps on goosebumps, which I liked.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's a good quote. So here's these experienced pilots. They've seen all sorts of things. They've been through a war, so you know they have good nerves. And they have goosebumps. And they're shooken up by this situation.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. And then there were some other witnesses. So I guess there's some other sightings during the evening or the day before, around this period of time. And what I found amusing is not only do they give the names of these witnesses, they give their addresses.
I've seen that before.
Yeah, it's J.V. Morris of 1092 Wiley Street. Said he and his friend, Lindsay Fell, of 1309 Metropolitan Avenue. I'm like, really? So anybody can go to their door and ask them about this witness account they're giving to the paper. Like, that's really funny.
I have seen that in older news reports before.
Maybe it's more too to be like, see, these are real people.
Right.
Kind of like when you sign those petitions, people are like, can you sign this petition to get this on the ballot? And you have to give like your name and address.
Yeah.
To verify you're a real person. Maybe it's something like that. But these two guys were fox hunting around the Yellow River, it says, and this is in the Atlanta Constitution. And they were at the Yellow River at 3 a.m. Saturday. Isn't that a strange hour to be fox hunting?
I don't know anything about fox hunting, so maybe that's when you do it. I don't know.
Maybe that's when they're doing something.
Question: Is fox just like a breed? Do people hunt foxes just for the competition of it, like the game, or do people actually eat foxes?
Fox fur?
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
all right, that makes sense.
So,
see, look, our house is haunted. look at the TV.
I know, the TV's on. So
it turned on by itself.
3 a.m. Saturday, and they saw, quote, an unusually bright light as bright as the moon, which appeared to be speeding westward. Morris said it was gone in a few seconds, and the time coincided with the hour the pilots, Chiles and Whitted, said they saw the wingless Buck Rogers craft, which they reported seeing at 2:45 a.m. And here's another article, Hunters Abet Story of Wingless Aircraft, but it basically says the same thing, that there were these fox hunters and they saw a craft, but it also says there were hundreds of telephone calls flooding the Civil Aeronautics Administration office in Yakima, Washington, from persons who had seen a silvery moon-sized flying blob wheeling across the sky from the city. And in Indianapolis, Indiana, a housewife reported she and her daughter saw a similar flame-spurting aircraft. I cannot talk today. Similar flame-spurting aircraft. Oh my God. Similar. No, I'm not going to be able to say this.
Similar flame
spurting aircraft.
There you go.
Thursday night, more than 24 hours before it was seen by the pilots.
Yeah.
She described it as a ball of fire which shot 2 jet flames downward at regular intervals. And she said she watched it for about 3 minutes.
Okay.
Now, they interviewed Whitted and Chiles, and they were pretty excited about the whole adventure. And they apparently were going to take cameras from now on their flights to try and capture and record something. But I mean, how likely is it you're going to see it again? And that might just be the news sensationalizing it, except I found it in a couple stories. So they got interviewed a few times by different papers, and they're like, yeah, we're going to take cameras next time.
Yeah.
We want to see what's what.
What sometimes will happen is a reporter will interview them, and then they'll put the story out on a newswire, and it gets picked up by regional papers.
Right.
So that can happen as well.
Sky monster.
Yeah, I doubt they said that.
Let's see. And I do have one more. And again, it says NYHT, July 25th, 1948. It's handwritten very faintly. What is NYHT? What do you think?
NYHT? I have no idea.
NYT would be New York Times.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what this is, where it comes from, but it's obviously a newspaper clipping. Airport men twice sight moon-sized blob. So let's see. Hundreds of telephone calls flooded the Civil Aeronautics Administration. Now, I didn't realize there were other witnesses, but apparently they were. And it was termed another flying saucer by the CAA. 2 control tower men at the Yakima airport, both of whom agreed to their general description. So they saw it flying past at 2 p.m. and then they saw it again at 4:20 p.m. And it was Mr. Hunt was one of the tower men, and he said he thought it was Venus, but he went ahead and checked and he said it wasn't the planet. Like he could tell it wasn't the planet. And then the other tower control man was Mr. Robinson, and he said it looked as if it had flashing lights, something like an airliner's fog lights. But they both agreed it wasn't an airliner because there were none flying through Yakima at the time. So he said he makes his living by looking at the sky, but he's never seen anything like it before.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Interesting indeed.
So that's what I have from the newspaper articles.
Yeah, there are reports in the file as well. I mean, from like the report that says a lot of people saw stuff around this time.
Stuffs.
And let's get to some of that. So the basic sighting itself is only part of the story. The other part of the story is that I think I mentioned earlier, the investigation into this thing was extensive. It was pretty gosh darn extensive. So let's talk about a little bit more from the report. And this, by the way, if you want to look this up yourself, you can find it and just Google Fold 3 Project Blue Book. And then you just navigate to, you just have to navigate to 1948, July 24th, and then you'll see it in there. It's pretty easy to find. Or Montgomery, Alabama. It might be under that. I don't know. I'd have to double check it again. But yeah, it's real easy to find. You can peruse the report yourself if you like. You tapping out there, Agent Ether? Oh, okay. She's kicking her headphones because she's upset. All right.
Screw you, headphones. You take this abuse.
Now, the report has some summaries of articles from the Atlanta Journal. In one summary, it says, people all over the country seeing objects. Mrs. Noah Atkinson of Brookhaven, Georgia, saw object. C.M. Bowles of Exposition Mills, painter who lives near airport, saw object in past. In compliance with verbal instruction, oh wait, this is a different part, but yeah. In compliance with verbal instruction from Major General Cabell, Director of Intelligence, AFOI, this HQ proceeded to investigate the report concerning the sighting of an unidentified aerial object in the vicinity of Montgomery, Alabama on the 24th. And the reason why I put that in there is because this is coming, the order to investigate this came all the way up from the Major General Cabell, who's fairly high up in the chain of command. So it just proves that they were taking this incident seriously. It was not, it was not like somebody, boots on the ground or a lower ranked guy decided to investigate it. They were taking this seriously up the chain of command. All right, let's look at an air intelligence report. Oh, look at this. What's this? Bugnast posted a little, see, what is this? A little comic here or an emote? Oh, it's an emoji. Okay. It's hard to kind of tell what it is. It looks like it's too tiny. It's like a little alien, but I'm sure it's a good one though. It's tiny. It's my screen, the way it is on my screen, it's hard to see.
Oh, I can barely see it.
Let's look at Air Intelligence Information Report. So this would be a report that you can find in the file, and this is talking about the incident as a whole and surrounding events. So it says here, detailed interrogations have been completed of persons reporting unidentified flying objects in the vicinity of Montgomery, Alabama, 24 and 26 of July, 1948, between the hours of 21:30 and 02:45. Analysts have been made, analysis have been, sorry for the misspeaking some of these words here, because the printout is very faint. That's the downside of this, is that some of these are very hard to read. But anyways, analysis have been made of the compiled statements and the other available evidence of each individual interrogated. The analysis was undertaken as only one of 219 reported incidents with an objective of arriving towards a definite pattern or trend in order to determine whether the objects reported were of domestic or alien origins. So it says it right there in the report. They're not beating around the bush.
Even just to consider that, right?
Yeah. Or a natural phenomena. Now, I just got to say, I love looking through these old reports. I know I've said this before, but these are like legit secret documents, and some of them were secret. Some of them were only restricted. Some of them were top secret. It just depends on which document we're talking about here. But these are like legit secret documents that we get to read just because this happened so long ago that it doesn't really matter that much anymore. But this is serious stuff, guys, even though it was all the way back then in 1948, which, if you remember, by the way, 1947 is generally considered, the dawn of the modern UFO era, they call it sometimes, when you have things like Roswell and the hold on, Agent Ether is sitting down here.
I got my soda. Hot. Soda.
You have like Roswell and the Kenneth Arnold sighting that really kicked off the whole craze. And this is only a year or so later, and already they're concluding, yep, it's aliens. But yeah, I get really excited reading through these documents because this is the secret stuff that everybody says that they don't want us to see, but we get to see it. We don't get to see what they're doing today, but we got to see what they were doing years ago. This is pretty cool stuff. And if you read between the lines, you can find an awful lot of great information in these reports. Like, for example, they say they're trying to determine if the objects were domestic or alien origin, whereas in later years, if you look at later reports or later public-facing statements from the project, they don't really seem to treat aliens as a legitimate explanation for anything. Like, they don't put that as a possible explanation. It's unknown is the best you can get out of them, right? They stop speculating about that at some point. And, I've talked about why that is in other episodes, so I won't go on and on. All right, next paragraph, comments. Analysis of data under incident 114, I think that's what it's, 144, reveals that 4 separate cases are involved, one having occurred on 24 July 1948 and the other on the 26th of July 1946. No, 48. Sorry, it's hard to read. A preponderance of evidence is available to establish that in almost all cases, an unidentified object was seen within the times stated and on the same dates over an extended area, pursuing a general course south. Descriptions as to the size, shape, and movement are fairly consistent. Size, shape, color. And then this is signed off by 3 different muckety-mucks here. You got a captain, you got a major, and a colonel, all fairly high-ranking individuals signing off in this little report here. All right. Now let's get to some more stuff in the report. There's, like I said, I'm not doing everything in there because there's quite a lot. I'm just kind of doing some highlights. But here's a highlight from the report. So it's talking about incidents 1 through 4. And it says that before it talks about this, it says to exclude irrelevant factors in a systematic manner, the information presented in Exhibit H, I think that's an H, is presented in the order of occurrence and significance. Incident 1. A. Object was sighted 24th of July 1948 between 0140 and 0150 EST from the ground at Robbins Air Force Base in Macon, Georgia. Object was again sighted from an altitude of 5,000 feet by redacted and redacted, that's Chiles-Whitted, while flying a DC-3 some 20 miles south of Montgomery, Alabama. The time of the sighting was 24 July 1948 at approximately 2:45 EST, 0245. Both the redacted sighting and that of redacted and redacted describe the object as cigar or cylindrical in shape. And then here we go. It says McKelvey perceived only the glow emitted by it. So here we go. They forget to redact a name, but that's the name of the passenger who saw the thing, not that. So he's the one who saw it. He's the only passenger awake apparently that saw the UFO fly by. What you doing?
He didn't really think it was a UFO, I don't think necessarily.
Yeah, he didn't really see like a craft. He just saw a light.
Yeah.
Make of that what you will. I don't know. What are you goofing around? You doing stuff in Discord there, Agent Ether?
Maybe I posted the comic book in Discord.
Oh,
in the live
sweet.
show chat.
Nice. It's a pretty fun comic. All right. Now, next up, it says all observers agree that the object was traveling in a general southerly heading and that it was trailed by a flame varying in color and that it behaved like a normal craft insofar as disappearing from the line of sight was concerned. And then there's a note here that says It's a known fact that atmospheric conditions, such as varying degrees of humidity and incidence of light reflection, often influence the color of the light observed. This would serve to explain why many observers conflict in their descriptions as to the color of light displayed by the object or its trail. What are you doing over there?
Playing with the dog.
Oh, I can see that. He's being very cute. Now, next item, number G. 4 witnesses to this sighting are involved. 3 are trained observers. In no instance were there any indications of subversive or ulterior influences involved. And both the redacted account and that of redacted were officially made within a period of time that would preclude any chance of impressions being gained from radio or newspaper reports. That's an interesting statement, I thought, because you're talking about hearing a report of, well, I guess not yourself, maybe hearing reports of other sightings is what they mean, I guess. At first, I thought maybe they meant hearing a report of your own account and that influencing your account. But I don't think that's what they mean here. All right, let's see. Now this is all right. Now the second incident was probably a meteor, and it was on July 24th at 02:30, and it was a pilot who was or was it a pilot? I don't know. Yeah, I think it was a pilot airborne between Blackstone, Virginia, and Greensboro, North Carolina. And that one, I read the description, and it does sound quite a lot like a meteor. I mean, it sounds like a really big meteor that's unusually large, but the report does seem like a meteor.
Don't say that. Say it ain't so.
Well, for the second sighting,
I suppose.
not Chiles-Whitted, but the second one. And so the third one, this object was observed between 2100 and 2300 hours on the 26th of July at Chamblee and Augusta, Georgia, by observers. And then there's a whole line and a part of a line here that's redacted that's probably witness names, but they just redacted everything instead of just the names. One of them is circled, and incident number 4 is written in handwriting. It's handwritten on there. This object was not thought to be a meteor in that it maneuvered. The glow was described as varied in color, but predominantly brilliant blue-white. The course was described as generally southern. And although the dates seem to indicate that the sighting could not be the same as described in Incident 1, yet the major portion of this testimony refers to a blue-white light. Observations in the first instance describe a blue glow running the entire length of the fuselage. When viewed from the ground, it is logical to assume that the blue glow would be mostly visible. And then there's a note here by Alan Hynek, and he says, it's not by him, I guess it's quoting him. It is his further opinion that it is impossible for any celestial body to maneuver violently and make sharp turns. It is extremely unlikely for heavenly bodies to appear to move slowly when passing through the lower layer of the atmosphere. And I know it's obvious, but I just wanted to throw that in there because it's kind of funny that, they later try to say that this is a meteor. And even Alan Hynek, who's their resident expert on astronomy, basically says that it's impossible for this to be a meteor based on the witness testimony. Let's see. All right. Now, incident number 4 was seen by 5 people whose names are redacted on July 26 between 2045 and 2050 at Chamblee, Georgia and Augusta, Georgia. Wait, did I already read that one? I feel like I already read that one. Let's see. Let me look at this page. I might have gotten ahead of myself here. Oh, no, I think they mentioned it. I don't think I read the account yet, though. Okay. So there was 5 observers, but it says the quote is 5 of the observers. So that's kind of an interesting detail there. It looks like 5 names redacted, but the report says 5 of the observers said the object was football shaped, that it appeared to be a green light with a silvery tail, and that it observed level flight. The last observer stated that the speed was 10K to 20K miles an hour, and that it appeared to be a quarter size of a full moon, that's fairly large, and that it was multicolored, brilliant light, trailing burning fragments. The terrific speed, together with the description of a multicolored light trailing burning fragments, seem to establish this object as a meteor, which is interesting, but that would be one heck of a meteor, and I've never seen a football-shaped meteor. I suppose anything's possible.
I'd be kind of scared if I saw a football-sized meteor. I'd be like, how big is that thing?
Yeah.
Is it going to crash? And how bad is it going to be when it does?
Should I climb to the top of a mountain because we're
Yeah.
about to get some tidal waves?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, wait, hold on. That's my phone. I forgot to turn it off. All right, sorry. That's my alarm to give.
Oh no, now they're going to want some.
They'll live. They already got their medicine.
Look at him. Look at that little face.
Yeah, he's a cutie. But I mean, they put that in there that it's a meteor, even though some of the details are consistent with the meteor, but some of them are not. But the reason they put that is because the speed of 10,000 to 20,000 miles an hour, which if something was going that fast in the sky, it would be incredibly difficult to estimate its true speed. But meteors go really fast. They are really, really fast. So that's why they think that is. But they're more like 200,000 miles an hour. You know, they just streak by. They're much faster than what this witness said, but they could just be mistaken. I don't know. It's a weird one, but I'm on the fence about this particular sighting. And okay, here's some comments. The only incident which possesses absolute intelligence significance is incident 1. It is obvious that this object was not a meteor. Now, let me say that again, because this is a direct quote from the report. It is obvious that this object was not a meteor.
Not a meteor.
Yeah, not a meteor.
Are you sure it wasn't the planet Venus?
It might have been, yeah, it could have been Venus or perhaps a mirage of Canopus, whatever that even is.
A weather balloon or something.
Yeah, a fast-moving weather balloon. Sure, why not? And then point number 2 under the comments basically talks about the witnesses being reliable. That's one thing they spent a lot of time on. We've talked about it before, but they would do background checks on the witnesses, which I understand, but I don't think that that's necessarily that good of a thing to do, because you say, okay, well, this person is just a janitor, then his testimony is not as good as somebody who's a professor. But I tell you what, man, I've met a lot of professors that I don't think would necessarily give reliable testimony. It depends on what kind of professor we're talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Bugnast, it probably is just swamp gas. Yeah. Which was the first episode I ever did, by the way, was the swamp gas.
It had sound effects.
Really good case. Yeah, it takes a lot of time to put those in. So I only did that a couple times for 2 episodes, but
it had swamp sound effects. I liked it.
I wanted
like crickets and stuff.
I wanted to do that on every episode, but that takes so much time to do that it is not possible for me to do a weekly episode, because this is not my day job, you know? So in order for me to do a weekly episode, I have to cut out the sound effects. I could probably do a monthly episode if it was the sound effects. So there's the trade-off there, you know, how many episodes I want to put out. And there's so many great cases that it would kill me to do monthly, because I want to get to more of these great cases. Like, there's just no end of great cases. There's so many of them to talk about. All right, and here's point number 3 under the comments is available information from Ordnance, Army, Navy, and Air Force weather bureaus, research organizations, and other, so these are the people that they talked to, or the organizations that they talked to see, hey, did you guys have anything in the air? But they list like everything here from Ordnance, Army, Navy, Air Force weather bureaus, research organizations, and other.
And they're like, nope.
What's other?
It's just, you know.
Don't worry about it. Just
don't worry about it.
Other organizations failed to reveal any evidence of testing devices to which this incident could be attributed. Attributed? I think it's attributed.
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 No.
No?
Not even in England.
Okay. Well, they say they say aluminum is aluminium, and that's like not even close. It's crazy. All right, now point number 4 under the comments is apparently it is not of domestic origin, since a thorough check of 225 flight schedules, like I said earlier, those are in the report if you want to look at them. It's very interesting.
They're teletyped.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
I've never heard of teletyping before.
It is pretty cool to flip through them.
Have you heard of teletyping before?
Yes.
I hadn't. They're like, okay, so it's a computer, but you don't really have a printer. So instead of a telegram, you're going to type it out on a typewriter and then it's going to get sent like across the country or whatever. And I was like, I've never heard of that.
It's pretty cool.
I've actually had to do hundreds of teletypes in my career.
No way.
I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah. Well, when somebody pops like a warrant or something like that, if it's out of county or out of state, you have to send teletypes to those agencies in which they are.
No email? You can't just email it?
No, you have to send a teletype. Yeah.
Wow.
You can email too, but it's not the same thing. The teletype, like once you send it, it creates like an automatic like hit or response from that agency. And so you'll be able to you'll be able to find out like a much faster, it's like an automatic thing, right? Within the system, they'll send you a message back saying we either want to extradite or we don't care about it. Don't worry about it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is cool. All right, where was I here? Let's see. 225 fights, commercial, government. One instance both commercial and governmental revealed that in only one instance did the reported flight paths cross. See chart enclosed in Exhibit I, if you'd like to look at that. There is a chart. This single exception was the flight of a northwesterly direction of a C-47 en route Robins Air Force Base to Olmsted Field, Pennsylvania. Its time of departure would have enabled it to have passed through the approximate areas on the 24th of July, 1948, where the sightings were reported. However, the factors of speed, direction of flight, maneuvers, configurations, lights, and other factors rule out this one possibility. So that's funny. They check all these flights to see if there's anything in the area, and they're like, oh, we found something in the area, but it wasn't an airplane.
No, I actually found this report here that I didn't realize I have.
Okay.
And hold on.
This is a different file, right?
This is a different file.
Yeah.
And it's from the Military Air Transport Services. I can't read who it's from, but it's Lieutenant Colonel USA, Chief Intelligence Officer.
Mm.
And in this report, redacted, yada, yada, but point 2 says there was an Eastern Airlines Houston to Atlanta flight reported a similar object in the vicinity, and it was forced to alter its course.
Yeah.
To avoid a collision.
Right.
And I was like, what? Like, it can't be a meteor.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I have notes on that one. I don't know if we'll get to it because we got a lot of stuff to talk to, and we're already at about an hour here.
Yeah. It's always sad when we're at an hour because, it's wrapping up.
It's wrapping up. But this is such a great case that there's just so much to it, It's one of those cases where you got tons of evidence. Let's see. Oh, yeah, possibility. So there's points 5 and 6 here. Point 5 talks about objects similar in configuration have been reported as follows. Rocket-like objects capable of immense speed were seen during the past summer in broad daylight in Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. And B, a wingless aircraft was observed moving at high speed at Oberstreet, Arnhem, The Hague, Holland. The object was seen intermittently through clouds and was reported to have 2 decks. So this thing was apparently seen in Europe as well, or at least an object very, very similar to this, which does lend to the idea that it's not anything that we made or anything that Russia made, because we didn't have anything with that kind of a range. And if we were flying stuff around, like I said earlier, they asked all the different branches they could, and they all said, nope, wasn't ours. So unless they're lying and it's just very highly compartmentalized, it wasn't ours. And Russia didn't have this kind of technology either. And they certainly wouldn't have been flying it over our land unless they wanted to provoke a war. So it's a weird one. What was it? I don't know.
Or maybe we did have that kind of technology and they were so confident in that technology and us not being caught, whatever, because you could always just deny it. Be like, oh, no, I don't know what you're talking about. That sounds crazy. You're crazy,
Yeah, that could be, yeah. And then point number 6 is about flying fuselages, torpedo or cigar-shaped body. And then it talks, let's maybe skip this. It talks about it being and efficient for like a fuselage, but then it goes over, some basically discussion about how you would get this thing to fly, essentially, like the aerodynamics of it. And then there's point D, the above estimates regarding weight, controllability, stability, etc. This coupled with the fact that aerodynamic lift on such a body would be accompanied by high drag places a serious limitation on the range of the aircraft for any particular gross weight. If this type of unidentified aerial object has extremely long range, which it does seem to have, it is probable that the method of propulsion is one which is far in advance of presently known engines. So I'm going to read that again just for emphasis. It is probable that the method of propulsion is one which is far in advance of presently known engines. It's right there in the report, guys. Right there. This is the kind of stuff you can find if you're willing to dig through the files. They're saying it right there that it's not ours. It's not anybody's. This thing should not exist.
It's amazing what you can find digging through there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. There's a lot of really cool stuff in here.
I think people wouldn't be so skeptical if they realize they have access to this kind of information.
Right. Well, that's why I like to go over this stuff with a fine-tooth comb. A lot of shows don't do this kind of detail because it's not the most exciting podcasting, but I like to go over this stuff rather than reading this stuff and then just giving my opinion on it. Like, oh yeah, they said in the report, they said it's a UFO in the report and that it's not from this planet. Well, what does that mean exactly? How did I arrive at that conclusion? Did they really say that in the report? If I just say that, people aren't going to really believe it. They're going to be like, nah, there's no way it said that in the report. But if you look at the report, that's basically what this report is saying, that this is not ours. It's not anybody's. So you find some real hidden gems in here. Is that the smoking gun? No, but it's pretty close, pretty close to a smoking gun. They're admitting that they couldn't find anything in our military that this could have been. Not missiles, not aircraft, not nothing. So that's pretty cool. All right, the report concludes. The flying anomaly observed remains unidentified, and remains unidentified is underlined by hand in the report by a thick underline. As to origin, construction, and power source. 2A. A definite trend of flight headings has evolved as generally south in bearing. 3. Supporting evidence from separate reliable sources establish existence of this configuration. And 4, an aircraft of the configuration described could support itself in flight by aerodynamic means. So that's kind of how that particular report concludes. That's basically a summary of all of their investigations. That's what that report was.
The end.
No, I got plenty more here. But maybe I'll do a little supplemental episode though, because we are getting a little on in time here, and I do have other things I want to do, like open the windows and let the cool air in because I am sweating.
Yeah, I've noticed a difference in my house here. It's getting hot.
Well, I see in the Matrix, everybody throws off like 2,500 BTUs or something, man. We're cooking this room.
Yeah.
We could be supporting an automated computer society with our energy right now.
It's so funny. You know how they always say glitch in the Matrix? Our kitchen light went out and Agent Anderson and I were replacing it, by which I mean I was like holding the step stool and handing him screws and he was replacing it.
You helped.
I helped. And like, I was like, I could have sworn we've done this before. It was like tripping me out.
No way.
But we had done it before.
Well, yeah, remember I replaced part of that one light.
Yeah, but I was really freaked out. I was like, why does this seem so familiar?
Yeah.
Why do I feel like we've done this before?
That's funny.
Because we have. We have fixed this light before.
Yeah. I don't know how to see. I don't have a ton more stuff, but I probably have at least a good 10 more minutes or 15 more minutes. So I'll do that as like a little supplemental bonus, I guess. I'll record that when I get a chance. And then I got plenty of printouts here from the from the file that I want to go over as well. So who knows? It might be a good half an hour. We'll see.
If I know you, it will be half an hour and become a bonus episode.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be just a little bonus. So we'll finish up. But that's the basic idea. And I went over most of the important points. The other stuff is just sort of icing on the cake. But I found in the report, I found a couple of times where they said, they said some pretty interesting stuff. Like, like they basically said it's far in advance of presently known engines. They said this couldn't be ours. And they talk about in the report, they give the possibility that it could be like a nuclear engine maybe, but they also say that a nuclear engine probably wouldn't fit on an airplane. So they're basically saying nuclear, but not really, they don't know. But yeah, so this is a really good case. It's one of the better ones. It's a real classic. And of course, like we said earlier, years later, they came out and said that it was a meteor. And, if you read, that's why I like reading the actual witness statements, because if you look at the witness statements, there's not a chance this was a meteor.
Not going up
it does,
back into
it does
the
not
clouds.
line up.
No.
Yeah, no, that's just absurd. Yeah, but all right. Well,
Yeah.
that's all we got for you this time. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. And before we exit here, I just want to mention again that we are going to change the show's name pretty soon here.
Sometime soon.
Yeah, somebody's working on a logo. I'm working on finding a music cue that I like.
Wait. You're going to change the intro?
You don't think I should?
No. Why would you do that? That's a terrible idea.
I don't know. Just to mix it up a bit. So you think I should keep the Surfer from Mars?
Yes.
All right. I guess
forever.
All right. I'll keep the Surfer from Mars then.
I agree.
Okay. Well, we have 2 votes against
I am
one.
confident that Agent Redacted would feel the same. So.
All right. Well, we'll keep it then. No difference to me, because I have some Digital Juice stuff, which is, it's music. It's not the best,
end the
but it's
show
music.
with it.
With what?
With that music, then end it with the.
Oh yeah, I guess.
Yes.
We don't really need end music, do
Yes,
we?
we do.
Do we?
Music's fun.
Okay.
It's
well,
fun.
I guess we could end it with music.
You would start it right here.
Okay. Well, anyways, the reason I want to change the show name is because a lot of people, I think, when they see Alien Conspiracy, they expect something different out of the show than what it actually is. And there are certain guests I would like to get on to talk about things like, sports controversies and, things like that I think they would come on the show name that I have in mind, but I don't think they would come on the Alien Conspiracy podcast.
Yeah, I wanted to interview somebody and they were basically like denied.
Yeah, we have gotten turned down for interviews before for topics that are not explicitly aliens or conspiracies. So it kind of goes with the territory. So I'm going to choose a name that's a little more neutral sounding, that might encompass more than just aliens and conspiracies. And that's why the name change. I love the name of the show. I like the logo. I don't have any problem with any of this stuff, but I do want to branch out a little bit and get some more interesting guests on the show. And that's pretty much the reason for it.
And don't worry, if you've bought our gear, I'm sure there'll be an opportunity to buy new gear.
Yeah, in fact,
you've got the classic, you've got vintage.
Well, what I'm going to do is so I still have that logo. I didn't delete it, and I'm going to look to change vendors for the shirts, because this vendor is very, very cheap. If you want to buy a shirt and you catch a sale, you can probably get one for $10, but they also are not great quality. They I'm actually wearing one right now, and it
you can't put it in the dryer.
Yeah, the logo starts peeling like immediately. Like the first time you wash it, it already starts degrading. So they're pretty bad quality, and I feel like, I don't want to put something out there that's not great quality. So I'm going to look for a different vendor when I get a chance. The TeePublic is still up. You can still get our stuff on there, but I don't think it's the best place to go with, because it's just really bad quality stuff. So I'm going to find a new vendor. And when I do find the new vendor, I will put our old logo on there too. So people who are fans of the classic, and for the older episodes in the feed, I'm going to keep the old shows. I'm not going to replace the intros on the old shows. So I am going to keep those on there, but I will put a note like this, and I will make announcements so that it's clear to people what's actually happening. so it doesn't take people by surprise. You're listening to your alien conspiracy show, then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute. Oh, I thought I was subscribed to Alien Conspiracy. Now it says a completely different show. You know what I mean?
I think they'll know because we always end with
Keep it strange. That's not going to be that's adjacent. That's not going to be the exact name, but it's going to be similar to that.
Alrighty.
All right. Peace out, everybody.